Okay, here we are into lesson 29, book 3 of beginning rock guitar. And this is major pentatonic scales. Now, we've done the minor pentatonic, like, right now, just let me play the A major pentatonic and listen to it. And then the minor pentatonic, which we've had for a while now, sounds like this. Maybe it's more bluesy. It's where the major is brighter, happier scale. So again, the A major, the A minor. Okay, so now the one thing about the difference between the major and minor pentatonics, besides they have different notes, is the way they work with chords. With the A minor, you can do it over an A7 chord or a D7 chord. Same notes, or an E7 chord. See? So one scale works for all three chords of a 12 bar blues, and depends on, if you're in the key of G, for example. And then, so it works the same. Now with the major pentatonics, you have to change the scale with each chord change. I can still do a 12 bar blues in A, and I can play a major pentatonic lick. And then when I go to the D chord, I can't do an A major pentatonic, I have to do a D major. And then E7, I have to do an E major if I want that major sound. And it works, but the thing that's flexible about it is generally a pentatonic is a simple scale. And when you change the scale with each chord change, you have much more flexibility. So if you're doing a progression that goes from A major, like a rock progression, and then G, G major, I can play an A major pentatonic, and G, I do a G major pentatonic. And if you notice on this first page of the pentatonics, it says the key of A and G. So that's why I'm talking about those two keys. But I could go A to a B to a D. So whatever chord I go to, I can change the major pentatonic key, and it works, And it's sometimes really good for rhythm guitar when you're strumming rhythm. And you can put in those major pentatonic licks along with your strums, and it gives you a lot of variety and sounds cool. So if you turn the page, the next thing after I should mention the second page of these major pentatonics are the same two keys, but up an octave. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but if you go ahead and turn the page, then it says major pentatonic jam progression. So it's a chord progression that we can jam to using those pentatonic scales. And what you want to do is probably record yourself playing this chord progression, and it's pretty straightforward. I've got some scrapes where you're just kind of letting go of the pressure of the chord, like. So I would look at the first measure really carefully and learn that. So you're strumming 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and scrape and 3 and 4 and then you have an open string. So try to work all that in. It doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get it in there. Sorry, scrape. Okay, so I'm going to play through the chord progression, and I'm going to go through it maybe 3 times, so that if you want to play back this video, you can jam along with me playing the chords. Okay, it'll be fun. Okay, so we have A, 2, 3, 4. So I went through it 4 times. I said I was going to do it 3 times, but the more times the better. You know, if you can record yourself playing this rhythm, and it's really a good rhythm to get into. Sometimes I was kind of making a note there on that scrape, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So. That open string at the end of the measure. It's kind of cool. And record yourself on a phone or whatever for 5 minutes at least. 5 minutes, and then come back and jam with yourself. And you'll find the more that you do it, the more ideas will come. So I'm going to imagine that somebody's playing rhythm, and I'm going to play along in that same rhythm, but I'm going to improvise with the scale, okay? So we have the A chord, ready, go, A chord. So now we're limiting ourselves to 6 notes in this octave, 5 different notes, and then an octave, which is the same as the first note, an octave higher. But we're just limiting ourselves, and sometimes that forces you to think of different ideas. When you have a very limited scale that's only 6 notes, you don't have a lot of leeway for variety, but say I'm just making up different things just with those few notes, and the more you do it, the more ideas will come. So the thing about it that's hard is that you got to change keys. So you're on the key of A, then G. So you don't want changing keys to mess you up. You're doing the same pattern, just on a different fret for the different keys. Okay? So all these 3 pages are related. The next thing that you want to do is, and I'm going to make all of this one lesson because it's fairly simple, and that's the second page of the major pentatonics where it says key of A and G upper octave patterns. So if we're on the key of A of the 6th string pattern, the lower octave, we're starting on the 5th fret of the 6th string. If we're on the upper octave, we're starting on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And that was the last note of the lower octave. So that's going to be the first note of the 2nd octave, the upper octave. Now, because the tuning of the 2nd and 3rd strings are slightly different than the other strings, notice the lower octave pattern goes 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1. The upper octave goes 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2. So the high note is a different finger. And you'll get used to that, but it's a slightly different pattern. It's almost the same. But if you didn't play 2 there, it would sound like this. Which is wrong, right? So you want to hit the nice notes, the right ones. And that's A, and then G. And you want to do that with that same chord progression. G, I'm sorry, I'm on A. I'm confused tonight, but so, A, G, doing some fancy stuff, A, hammers, pull-offs, slides. You can do slurs. Repeating stuff like that is really kind of cool, I mean, sometimes it's, might not fit, but that's all part of learning. And eventually you can hear these notes and kind of like when you speak to somebody, you're talking and you're assessing what you're going to say next right before you say it. You can do that with scales as well. And so you can kind of, what it's going to sound like right before you play it eventually. Or, sometimes I'll do things that are off the wall and I don't know how they're going to come out, but sometimes they come out really good, So accidents can be as good as being in control of what you're doing. And there's a little bit of both. You know, you want to give and take when you're improvising. You control some of the things you're doing, but you also do some things randomly, and you might surprise yourself and say, wow, that was a cool lick. I hope I recorded that, or somebody did, so I can learn it, learn a lick that I did by accident and remember it. So sometimes I'll record everything I do, well, I pretty much do. Like if I'm improvising um, in my band, I'm recording rehearsals, I record gigs, and I don't often have time to listen back to everything, but um, it's a good way to listen and critique yourself and say, well, I was kind of stumbling around there. I really need to get that pentatonic scale down better and that key of C sharp, or I might be in a weird key, and I'm not used to playing in that key, and I might hit some clunkers, some clams as we call them. So it's all fun, and then eventually, once you get to know the lower octave pentatonics, and then the upper octave uh, major pentatonics, then you put them together. I mean, just you got the key of A, G, going up in the upper octave, A, G, and another thing I just thought about is that you want to definitely know where the roots of these scales are. And basically, it's the first note of that octave, and then the last note of that octave is the root. And then in the second octave, this is the root, and then the second finger is a root. So if I'm going from A and I'm up in this area, I might go to G, just 2 frets down from A, and just start on the root. It's always often a good idea to start on the root, but you don't have to. And again, you might surprise yourself and think, oh, that was really cool what I just did. I hope I can remember it. But it's not all that important to remember everything, that can stifle you in some ways, but so again, have fun with this. This is improvising, making up your own licks, and just trying to hear and do it in a rhythm. Here we're doing more, not a blues rhythm, but more of a rock rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Or you could think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you could either do cut time or 4/4 time. 4/4 is counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and cut time is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So and sometimes we do a combination of the two, in the way we think of things. So enjoy this, have fun with it. Please make comments. We're keeping it simple, and you might think, oh, I'm just doing 6 notes, that's really boring, but it's only as boring as you make it. You can make it very interesting. Sometimes fewer notes forces you to become more creative. So don't think of it that way. Think of it as, and I think with the key changes, A to G, back to A, back to G, that'll be enough to be thinking about, even with a simple 1 octave scale. But eventually put both octaves together, okay? So please like, subscribe, and give me a hug. I don't know, you know. So look for me on Facebook, John Hedger Guitar Studio, and also on Instagram. Thank you so much. All right.